Hello, this is Bill Bullard with R-CALF USA. Thanks for joining us this week, and we want to talk about country of origin labeling. Now, in its basic form, country of origin labeling is simply a label that informs consumers as to the origins of the beef they buy in the grocery store. Now, in 2013, we had a country of origin labeling law that applied to beef that informed consumers as to where the animal had been born, where it was raised, and where it was slaughtered. So consumers had very accurate information as to the origins of their beef. And beginning that year, in early 2013, cattle producers began to realize some very competitive prices for their cattle. And then in 2015, when Congress signaled that they were going to repeal COOL, and everyone knew that the days for COOL were numbered, then cattle prices collapsed, and they collapsed further and faster than at any time in history. But retail consumer prices that consumers kept paying for beef continued to escalate. In fact, it continued to increase for about another 8 months. And so the market was functioning properly when country of origin labeling was in effect, but it quit functioning properly after country of origin labeling was repealed. So we're working right now to encourage the Trump administration to reinstate country of origin labeling in the North American Free Trade Agreement. And right now in the state of Colorado, state legislators are pushing to reinstate a statewide country of origin labeling placard in that state. So let's look at the importance of country of origin labeling. First, we import from about 20 different countries. We import beef into the United States from these 20 countries. And we import a large amount of beef, about 3 billion pounds. In addition to the raw product we bring in, we also import about 2 million head of live cattle. So the live cattle equivalent of all the imports we bring into this country is well over 5 million head of cattle. Now that's about 20% of what we slaughter in fed steers and heifers in the United States. So about 20% of the beef available in the United States is actually derived from these 20 different countries. And so the meat packers have figured out that they can source beef from these lower cost countries, bring it to the United States, and have a U.S. inspection sticker placed on that beef, and then sell it to unsuspecting consumers that can't distinguish between U.S. produced beef and this foreign beef. And so the meat packers do not want consumers to be able to differentiate U.S. beef from beef that has been imported from Honduras and Uruguay and Mexico and Argentina and Brazil and any one of the other 20 countries that we import from. So from a consumer perspective, country of origin labeling gives consumers the ability to avoid products produced in countries that are having disease problems. Right now, there's a Brazil scandal for beef because Brazil was exporting tainted beef. So if consumers in the United States wanted to avoid Brazilian beef, their only choice perhaps is to avoid all beef. But with a country of origin label, then a disease outbreak or a foodborne illness outbreak or tainted beef outbreak could be confined just to the country where the problem occurred and not affect the entire industry. Now that's important to U.S. cattle producers. But also country of origin labeling eliminates the deception. The deception caused by placing a U.S. inspection sticker on all imported and all domestic beef. And since there's no other origin information on the beef, consumers should and likely do believe that the beef must be of domestic origin. But in addition to that, our U.S. Department of Agriculture has authorized the meat packers to import live cattle from Canada and Mexico, slaughter them in the United States, and then put a product of the USA label on that beef. In other words, the beef could be completely of foreign origin, of Mexican origin or Canadian origin, and yet it will bear a product of the USA label. Country of origin labeling is needed to eliminate that deception. From a producer standpoint, country of origin labeling is essential in order for competition to occur, because U.S. cattle farmers and ranchers cannot compete with the farmers and ranchers in all of these 20 different countries if the consumer can't differentiate their beef from foreign beef. Again, giving the meat packer unilateral control over where they will source the beef to satisfy consumer demand. But when you have country of origin labeling and the consumer has a choice between a product from Honduras, a product from Mexico, or a product from the United States, and if the consumer selects the USA product, then they send a demand signal upstream in the supply chain, and they tell the packer where the packer has to go to satisfy that demand. The packer has to go to the U.S. cattle producer, and that's why competition can only occur with country of origin labeling. We hope you'll support country of origin labeling. Please call your members of Congress, and if you like this video, share it with your friends. And if you are a farmer or rancher that raises cattle, we need your help. We will reinstate country of origin labeling, and we will need your help to do it. With that, have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.